Oil slicks have been the cause of some of the world's biggest environmental disasters. What are oil spills? An oil spill is the release of liquid petroleum hydrocarbon into the environment, especially marine areas due to human activity, and is a form of pollution. Not all oil spills happen during the mining process. Sometimes oil spills can happen as a result of accidents during the transportation of oil from one place to another. However, the world's largest oil leak disaster did occur during mining. The Deepwater Horizon oil spill, also known as the BP oil spill, which occurred in the Gulf of Mexico and flowed non-stop for 3 months in 2010. Marine birds and other animals suffered from the oil. They were soaked with oil, and plants and animals on the mainland also suffered and died. The oil covered hundreds of square miles of ocean, and the lives of countless animals were lost. This had a major effect on the ecosystems and would have a devastating impact on the biodiversity of these areas. Where I live in Onslow, there's oil pods and drilling occurring off the coastline right in the middle of an area that provides a habitat for a huge range of marine animals and bird and reptile species. These activities have benefits that come with them, like they bring lots of money into the Australian economy, but they are also a great risk. If an oil spill was to happen here, it would kill off the diverse reefs and have a disastrous impact on the fragile ecosystems in the area. Is it possible to enjoy the benefits of this industry and also respect the environment at the same time? I think so. In this video I will be talking about the causes of oil spills in the mining industry, how the problem impacts the environment, and possible long and short-term solutions. I'll be using the Horizon oil spill as an example to explore these things. The BP oil disaster was the biggest oil spill disaster to ever happen in US waters. Up to 4.9 million barrels of oil flowed into the Gulf of Mexico. A safety device that was supposed to seal the well failed, and an estimated 62,000 barrels per day flowed into the ocean. Engineers spent months trying to dig relief wells to cap the leak off. That did not work, and so they even tried to block the leak with mud and junk. Eventually the well was capped off, but it was too late. The waters of the Gulf of Mexico were already contaminated with millions of barrels of crude oil. The fisheries had to close. Birds and other species were covered in oil and suffered a slow and painful death. The oil spill didn't only affect the environment but also the local industries. People in the fishing and oyster industries lost their livelihoods. Their lives will never be the same. It may be another 7 years before they can set to the sea again. The tourist industry will die out. Not as many people will go to the area. One hotel owner said, "It's just going to kill us. It's going to destroy us." The result of the oil spill cost many businesses along the Gulf's coastline millions of dollars. So, what were the causes of the oil spill? Who might be blamed? The technical reason for the oil spill is that a methane bubble rose up and blew all the seals out, causing the oil to spill into the ocean. One particular piece of critical equipment, the blowout preventer, failed. This is the technical reason for the disaster. But there are other reasons behind it. Firstly, the industry in the United States was mainly self-regulated. There was no government body keeping a close eye on the way that companies run their oil and gas operations. As a result, there was nobody overseeing operations. This meant they could take shortcuts and nobody could stop them or remind them about safety. Another problem that led to the disaster was that the company did not take safety very seriously. Previously, the blowout preventer was damaged, but the operators did not formally report the accident. In meetings, the drilling operator said that he wanted to stop the operations to fix the blowout preventer, but the company overruled him so they could keep producing. There were several other serious warning signs just before the explosion that were not taken seriously. This brings us to what I think is the main cause: greed. The company didn't want to take the time to do their jobs properly. Instead, they took shortcuts so that it would cost less and they could keep producing oil. One of the main causes of this terrible oil spill was the huge amount of pressure that was put on the managers of the oil rig. Overstressed managers were getting pressured by their bosses to produce more and more oil. They didn't want to worry about the safety of workers. Some employers have said that the failure to take the safety seriously was what put lives and the environment at risk. The company didn't shut down the platform and took shortcuts to save money, and because they weren't thinking about safety, they weren't well prepared. Robert B., a petroleum engineer who spent decades in the oil industry and also did a stint at BP, spoke publicly about the Horizon disaster. He said, "We went into this with our eyes partly closed." Realistic assessments of the risks were not made at the early stages of the project. In documents BP submitted to its regulators at the U.S. Minerals Management Service, the company downplayed the risk. Robert B. said, "We excluded from our thinking these nightmares, and we haven't honored the Boy Scout motto, be prepared." So, now that we have some understanding of the causes of the oil spill, what impact did these failures have on the environment? The Horizon oil spill was one of the biggest environmental disasters in history. Whenever oil slicks occur and they reach the coastline and enter into coastal marshes, fibrous plants and grasses soak up the oil. This destroys them and makes the whole area unsuitable for wildlife habitat. When the oil eventually stops floating on the surface, it starts to sink into the marine ecosystem, killing the fragile plants and many fish species and smaller organisms that are essential links in the global food chain. Any oil spill is a death sentence for seabirds. Some shorebirds can escape the oil by relocating, but some aren't so lucky. All of these things happen as a result of the Horizon oil spill. Countless flora and fauna were destroyed. There were 150 dead dolphins alone found washed ashore in the Gulf. Still today there are 53.5 million gallons of oil remaining in the water or washed ashore. 57.5 square miles of the Gulf remain closed to fishing. The Horizon oil spill was absolutely devastating to the environment and ecosystems in the Gulf of Mexico. So, how did they go about cleaning up this giant mess? There were many different ways that government and private bodies helped clean up. 16.5 million gallons of oil were chemically dispersed by National Incident Command. Microorganisms, our biological agents, have also been used to break down or remove oil. 32.9 million gallons of oil were naturally dispersed. This means the oil broke down into droplets smaller than a human hair. 51.5 million gallons of oil evaporated or dissolved. 6.2 million gallons of oil were skimmed off the surface of the water by more than 830 skimming vessels. 35 million gallons of oil were directly captured from the wellhead through the riser pipe and top hat systems. And finally, 11.1 million gallons of oil were removed by controlled burning through a series of 441 controlled burns. This cleanup effort has taken years of hard work, time and money, and the job of dealing with all this oil is still continuing. All of this could have been saved if the disaster was prevented in the first place. So, how might the Horizon oil spill have been prevented? There are a number of ways in which a disaster like this might have been avoided. Firstly, the main cause of this disaster was that there was no regulation by a big government body. The oil and gas companies were allowed to regulate themselves and there was not enough government regulation to see if the company wasn't taking any shortcuts. The Minerals Management Service was the body that was supposed to look over the platform but was chronically underfunded, so it was unable to do its job properly. In the future, another disaster might be avoided by a properly funded government body that is outside of the mining industry, overlooking the work of these companies. But the main way that this sort of disaster can be avoided is for operators on the rig to take safety seriously. All companies need to make it a part of their culture. They need to put people and the environment before money. A clear message about safety needs to come from management, because if they take it seriously, then the employees will also. They need to send a clear message that they value the safety of their employees and the environment more than the production of oil. Only if a clear message is sent will a culture of safety be built within the company. The BP Horizon oil spill had a massive effect on the environment and people's livelihoods. Many jobs were lost, innocent animals and people were killed just because of some little mistakes. If these sorts of disasters are to be avoided in the future, companies in the oil and gas industry need to build a culture of safety within their organizations, and these industries also need to be properly regulated. Only if these things happen can we hope that these accidents might be avoided.